You see, the darkness, it only came because we let the fathers, the monsters, we let them move. But now, all we have to do is make a Breadsheet.
Left Brain Mom. That's at Left Brain Mom 1, all one word. Hold on, I have the monitoring on these headphones. So there we go. That's better. I can still see my jiggling. Yeah, you've been called out, Left Brain Mom, by me on this Breadsheet. A lawyer, apparently, Left Brain Mom is. She's a fantastic tweeter. She is also K-Hive, and while I have many issues with Kamala Harris, I'd like to say congrats to her supporters for getting that sweet Biden VP slot. Despite all of her problems, I do love Kamala's demeanor, posture, vibes. I interview an actual smart brain, the great Ben Burgis, logic professor from Georgia State University, and regular on many leftist YouTube channels and podcasts and whatnot in the next episode, which I'll also probably put up on YouTube, but that'll be the next episode of Breadsheet. You got to listen to the podcast to get my fun little intros. But yeah, smart brain, he's a professor. We get down and dirtier with talking about Kamala. Then might come back here toward the end of the episode and say my thoughts on Kamala, because I don't think I really got him out in that interview. But I did a little tweet thread, and maybe I'll just kind of use that as just some of my key points about what I think the issues are. And, I mean, if you're a leftist, if you're for prison abolition and, criminal justice, radical criminal justice reform, her history, she's a prosecutor. I'm not going to get into that because I'm calling out Left Brain Mom. And she, at least in some capacity, likes Kamala Harris. I do like things about Kamala Harris. And, but, I don't want to, ruin your spot, Left Brain Mom, by getting all, critical of Kamala Harris. So I'm just going to say the things I like about her. She's cool. I would feel very safe with her in charge. I'll put it that way. Much safer than I do now. I feel like the world could end at any moment. I'm not the only one who feels that way. All right, going to start off this episode with some Haas news. I have 2 new videos up on my YouTube channel, Haas Bossman. That's just go to YouTube and search Haas Bossman, or Google Haas Bossman YouTube. Also, bit.ly/Haas Bossman YouTube, but you have to capitalize it right and stuff, I think. I don't know. Just it's Haas Bossman on YouTube. The most recent one I just put up just a couple nights ago. This was my very first talkie video essay. I made it about Quibi. That new weird, dumb streaming service that's just for phones, but it's also about how stupid, wasteful ideas like Quibi are inevitable in a stupid, wasteful, endlessly consuming society like ours. It may seem frivolous, and in a way it definitely is, but it actually is kind of a real issue I try to get at in there. I wanted to start doing these video essays, and I thought I'd start with a really light topic that it seemed like a lot of people were talking about. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little self-conscious about this video I made. It's I'm not really self-conscious about the podcast. I actually think this is going pretty well, besides the erratic release schedule, which I am working toward fixing. I promise I'm working on that. And when it comes to music, whether it's songs I write or covers I do, I lost any sense of shame around that many lifetimes ago. But this video is my first essay type thing. I'm showing my face, talking about something dumb, delivering pre-written jokes. I make a little outline for the podcast, but I mostly just kind of freeball it here. Then I edit together everything that I've recorded into something halfway coherent, hopefully. But the video is mostly scripted, and I want to start making more videos like this on some more serious topics. I'm going to launch a new YouTube channel once I've made the next one, add clips from the podcast, especially the interviews I do to that channel. Repurpose some of my old lesson plans, like I've mentioned before, on critical thinking skills to be about dum-dums, ding-dongs, and Nazis on the internet, because I think that'll be fun. I thought about maybe applying some of that stuff to some QAnon stuff, especially because somebody I know, I won't say who it is, but somebody I know and care about seems to have recently gone into at least some QAnon adjacent stuff, and but I don't know if I'm equipped to. That's more deprogramming kind of I think maybe just connecting with them on a human level is a good start, for de-radicalizing somebody from like Nazi views or, something like QAnon or being like a right-wing extremist. But, just like critical thinking skills, I think past a certain point don't really apply. But so that YouTube channel is going to be all political, or at least tangentially socio-political at least. I wanted to start with something lighter, like I said, that's like kind of in the zeitgeist. But it took so long that everybody's already maybe forgotten about Quibi. I don't know, but it's up there. Go check it out. I've gotten some good feedback on it. People seem to like the setup and everything, and it's cool. I worked really, really hard on it. And I do somehow manage to make it about capitalism. Don't worry, my lovely little commies. Just check it out. Share it, like it, subscribe to my channel, and I think I have a somewhat unique take on the dumb weirdness that is Quibi. Even though Some More News, the YouTube show, did an episode about Quibi, I actually used a couple clips from it just like for B-roll in the video, and it's called We Need to Talk About Quibi. That's a great YouTube channel, by the way. This isn't Haas Recommends, but if you are listening to this, chances are you already know about Cody Johnston and Katie Stoll's YouTube endeavor known as Some More News, and it is absolutely fantastic. And David Bell writes a lot of those episodes. Katie Golden also. I really love the ones that the two of them write. Some More News is great, and even though they're a political channel and they talked about Quibi, they didn't really get into that element of it. I just had a little mishap here. Just a little peek behind the curtain. I was eating some of those little some sliced mangoes in heavy scissor, and that's what I mean when I talk about the scissor. And I spilled them. I didn't get it on my computer or any of my equipment or anything, but it almost did. And I had to pause recording and had to take care of that issue. I think I got it all the stickiness cleaned up and stuff too. It didn't make too big of a mess. I just had to clean up around all this gear. Anyway, where was I? Let's see. Oh, I was talking about my Quibi video. You Zoomers and young millennials and YouTubers, I guess is what I mean. Y'all make it look a lot easier than it is. It's just editing is very tedious, especially doing the jump cuts and stuff takes a while. And yeah, I think I have a somewhat unique take on the dumb weirdness that is Quibi, despite the fact that, like I said, Some More News did a video about it already, but they did not address the late-stage capitalism element. That's cool. I'm glad that I feel like I had somewhat of a new take on it. Anyway, I also made a lyric video for my cover of Propagandhi's Victory Lap. Chris Hanna of that very band supposedly watched it and claims to have liked it, so please check that out as well. I mentioned that on the last episode, but that's Haas Bossman on YouTube. The Victory Lap, second to last video I post. It's a lyric video. I love the words to that song. They really encapsulate the weird time. The album came out in 2017, and I think that the lyrics really kind of encapsulate our time with both specific references to political things and also sort of, more broadly speaking about just how weird of a time this is. So very cool. And supposedly, I'm a Propagandhi fanatic, so it's just amazing to me that I just got a cheers, man, nice, something like that from him on the Twitters, which is all I ask for. It's for my heroes to recognize that I'm obsessed with them, so I make lyric videos about their songs. Now, we're going to listen to some listener-sent questions, comments, and come-ons. I've been posting about this past couple days. I'm calling this segment bit.ly/callhaas because that's the shortened link I made for listeners to leave messages, and why make it any more confusing than it needs to be? Our first message comes from Compassionate Nihilist, whom I called out last week, and this is an old message. Compassionate Nihilist, I know it took me a while to get to this, and I'm very sorry, but this is from July 7th, I want to say. So this is from right around when I first launched the podcast. I actually have another one that I'm going to save for a little later because I think it might be more pertinent later. But Here is Compassionate Nihilist's message. This was the first message I ever got, and I hold it very close to my heart. And I'm going to play it on the show now. And then, well, I haven't listened to it in a while, but here, let's give her a listen.
So, this is Compassionate Nihilist, who is a TDZ fanatic, just like you, Haas Bossman and Christy Yamaguchi Main. I have not listened to the complete episode, but I just had to leave you a message to tell you that you are inspiring me. I love the podcast. I love how real it is, and it's just there's a real tenderness to it, and I love guys talking to each other about feelings and body image, and it's great. So I would love to be interviewed. I'm clearly not as famous as Christy Yamaguchi Main, but I'm funny sometimes, and I have a lisp, as you can hear, and I will recite some bad poetry, and yeah, let me know. So keep doing it, man. I love it.
That makes me feel so wonderful. And Anchor does that. It cuts off the end of the stuff sometimes. So maybe give yourself a little gap at the end when you leave the messages. Sorry, I have never told anybody that, but it did that with some of my stuff too. But anyhow, that makes me feel so warm and fuzzy inside, and I love it. This podcast is all about spreading love and advocating for a better world, where a better, fairer, more compassionate world, and compassionate nihilist. And I'm a bit of a compassionate nihilist myself. I really like that username, by the way. My fake name is Haas Bossman, by the way. I don't know if I've said that yet. That's usually one of the things I'll say. Anyhow, yeah, that's beautiful. I love guys need to be more open about their feels, put the feels up there with the reels as far as what's important. And I've got some interviews lined up, and I did one where I try to get more personal with the guests than a lot of these leftist folks who do the rounds on the podcasts and the YouTube channels. I want to kind of talk to them about their personal relationship with their politics, because I think, I'm primarily an artist. I have like a master's in English education, and I've worked as a teacher in various capacities, worked with kids in various capacities. But primarily what I've always, my main love has always been music and poetry and, writing stories and stuff like that, and just writing in general, songwriting, whatnot. So as an artist, I think, one of the best things, and as, the comedians out there listening and people who are, aspiring artists of some kind, actors, whatever, one of the main things that we can do to help advocate for a better world is just show how the left is a very appealing place to be, because we love each other. And the reason that we're here is because we love other human beings, and we want everyone, and yes, including the Trump supporters and the QAnon people, to have health care and to have access to more opportunities and live a better life. We want a better, fairer world. We get demonized all the time, especially because there have been some pretty naughty communists in the past and far leftists, and there are plenty of them today. A lot of them are active on Twitter, as a matter of fact. But we need to come together, and I just love just getting a message of love like that, and just the support. It really means a lot to me, Compassionate Nihilist. I have not listened to the next message you left me yet, because I want to save it, because, let's stretch it out a little bit. And yes, I would love to interview you sometime. I've asked some people if they want to be on the show, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I feel dumb talking about politics." Like, dude, I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, maybe I should cut that part out. I'm not like a big theory head or anything like that, and I don't want to like have debates with people. That's just not my thing. Like, I want this to be a fun hang where people can learn some stuff, especially, people who are kind of new to the left, or people who are maybe a little bit ignorant, by no fault of their own, just the propaganda and education system in the U.S. is very anti-left. So people who just want to get an actual idea of what it's really like, and I want this show to be for them, and I don't want it to be mean or nasty, and I definitely don't want any gatekeeping or any of that bullshit on this show. This is all about just having a good time and showing that that's what the left is all about. Compassionate Nihilist, I would love to have you on. And like I said, some of the people who are maybe a little bit nervous about being guests on a show, I tell them that, hey, we can do like feature you on a minisode. We can just do like a 10-minute talk or whatever, edit out whatever you want. I absolutely have no interest whatsoever in making anybody, getting anybody like gotcha questions or something like that. Maybe like if I interviewed a Nazi or something and, I could get them to say something that would be harmful to their cause. And really, I mean, I don't want to personally harm Nazis. I want to, change them into not Nazis. Although I will, totally understand people who say punch Nazis. I feel multiple ways. I contain multitudes, but that's me personally. But especially if you are part of a minority, or if you're like Jewish or something, and you see somebody with a swastika, I totally understand. Hey, I'm a white, cis, straight dude. I don't really have an analogous thing that I could relate to in that way. So you want to punch a Nazi, I'm not going to feel bad about it. Anyway, thanks again, Compassionate Nihilist. That's really beautiful. Oh, and you said you have a lisp. I could not hear it. It sounded pretty clear to me. And I mean, a lot of famous people have lisps. Lisps are not for a lot of people, unless it like makes it so people can't understand what you're saying. Then maybe some speech therapy to like reduce it a little bit. But as long as people can understand what you're saying, that's just like a characteristic of how people talk. I don't find it distracting or a negative thing or anything like that. And also Brandon Sutton, I would really like to have him as a guest. He's the host or one of the hosts of the Discourse. See, I have a little bit of a stutter sometimes. He's one of the hosts of the Discourse podcast, and one of the smartest and funniest people. I find him a little bit intimidating, but I would love to have him on the show. He's got a little bit of a lisp, and I think that's just part of how he talks, and that's cool. Anyway, not to dwell on that for too long. I might lisp talk, but a lot of famous people have lisps. I don't think it is anything to be ashamed of, and I think you should wear it proud and loud. Compassionate Nihilist also writes some poetry, and I've read a Medium post or two of hers, and they are fantastic. You are a wonderful writer, Compassionate Nihilist. I don't know if you want me to say your real name, even though I have seen what it is. Recommend people go follow her on Twitter. She has some fun tweets. She's a great person to interact with on Twitter, but also check out her Medium page. Actually, I'm going to look up what that is real quick. Pause. Okay, so I just looked at Ms. Compassionate Nihilist's page, her Medium page, and her real name is on there, so I'm not going to say that on the podcast just yet. If you do want me to say it, let me know on the Twitters, Ms. Nihilist, and we will, we'll direct more people to your Medium page. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe the second message you left is this, but I did want you to read some of your poetry aloud on the messages, so I'd like to hear that. If you would be interested in doing that, I would absolutely love that, because your poetry is fantastic. All right, moving on to the next message. This next one is from John the Baptist. I love that name. God, I love a good fake name. So John the Baptist. Sorry for my Christian listeners out there. I respect your faith, but come on, that's funny. So this is that message, and it's I haven't listened to it yet. So you are hearing it with me for the first time. I'm going to keep recording. Actually, I'm going to pause, drag the file into my recording program, and then I'm going to react along with it.
Something that isn't racist. I bet you're gonna get tons of ones that say this. It's gonna really piss you off.
Hey, that is actually the only one that I got, I think, that just says something that isn't racist. So that was what I implored people to say. It's like, I'll probably play it on the show as long as you don't say something racist. So you were the first, and as far as I know, the last. All right, so we just have one more listener mail message here. This one comes in the form of a question from a poo poo pee pee butter baby. One poo poo pee pee butter baby. So yeah, here's that.
Hey there, Hoss. It's Daddy Doo-Doo Diapers. I really love what you're doing. Been listening to all your shows, and it's great. But I wanted to call in and ask you a question. When you're dealing with a wet-ass, is there any particular brand or style of bucket and mop that you like to use to clean up or just really deal with that situation? And if you prefer a really dry, like Ben Shapiro, is there any brand of or style of vacuum that you prefer to use to, clean up and deal with that situation. Yeah, I just keep on doing what you're doing. Look forward to hearing your answer, and keep being a hero.
Well, thank you very much for those kind words, Mr. Doo-Doo Diaper Pee-Pee Poo-Poo Man. I can't remember. You might not know what he's referencing there, listeners, but Ben Shapiro went on a little rant on his podcast, which is pretty popular. I usually see it in like the top 10 podcasts or whatever, but any hoot, don't listen to it. He's a propagandist and he's flailing, but he went on a rant about how dirty rap music is, and it was like really kind of gross because in that Ben Shapiro voice, he's like saying rap lyrics which are like highly sexually charged, and it really, really grossed me out. But he kept talking about wet ass pussy, and he was saying that that's not feminist or something like that, but then it wound up being like a huge self-own in a way that, since this is a family show, I'm not going to really go into detail as to why, but I felt pretty comfortable just go ahead and saying, all right, that's self-own of 2020. Number one self-own of this year. I also tweeted at one of my old professors who taught my Black Music and American Literature class, and he, because I remembered that we listened to a song from 1909 by Jelly Roll Morton that was really, really dirty, and since Ben Shapiro talked about this, like, oh, the culture is in decline, people have been posting songs from like the 1930s and even earlier that are, just as dirty as stuff that comes out today. So it's like, it's nothing new. All these moral panics, they're always nonsense. So guys, just enjoy what you enjoy and don't judge people for, making their art the way that they want to make it. If you don't like it, just turn it off. But to answer your question, I would say that you don't really need a dust and broom, mop and bucket, vacuum cleaner, anything like that. It's natural. It's just my advice would be just let it be, and don't be a fucking square ass prude like Ben Shapiro and focus on actual problems instead of just focusing on all this like meaningless bullshit that doesn't matter. Not you, Mr. Poo Poo Diaper Baby Butter Daddy. All right, let's see if we can get out of this tailspin we've gotten ourselves into. Talking about Ben Shapiro and sex in the same breath is really bumming me out. So this has been the very first exciting edition of bit.ly/callhoss. That's bit.ly/CALLHOSS. bit.ly/callhoss. Go to that link and you can leave a message, question, ask me for advice, plug your own thing if you have a YouTube channel, especially if it's like a leftist project or something, a charity thing or something that you want to get the word out about. You got a co-op or union or anything like that. Please, by all means.
bit.ly/callhoss. That's bit.ly/callhoss. That's right, baby.
Okay, now that we have raised ourselves from the gutter, much like Jesus raised himself from the dead in the days of old, I am going to talk about other stuff. The next full episode of the podcast, I think it's going to be a two-parter because we talked for a while, will feature an interview with the great Ben Burgis, a logic professor from Georgia State University. He has two great podcasts, one awesome book and one forthcoming book, whose awesomeness I cannot comment on because it hasn't been released. But I guess that makes this as good a time as any to swing on the vines of justice into this week's edition of Hoss Recommends. Okay, Ben Burgis's fantastic book that you should definitely order is called Give Them an Argument, Logic for the Left. Are you annoyed at how lying, grifting, right-wing dipshits who talk fast and give the illusion of rationality seem to have cornered the market on facts and logic somehow? It's a bigger problem than just being annoying. In around 100 pages, Ben Burgis spits some truly fascinating knowledge about how to argue both against right-wing talking points as well as how to argue for leftist ideas that actually are more logical, as he illustrates in the book. Plus, as most of you probably care more about, those leftist ideas are also more humane, compassionate, and good for all actual living human persons, and even more beings than just humans, other animals as well. From the back of the book, the left must learn to argue. Many serious leftists have learned to distrust talk of logic and logical fallacies associated with right-wing, quote-unquote, logic bros. This is a serious mistake. Unlike the neoliberal technocrats who can point to social problems and tell people, trust us, quote-unquote, the serious left must learn how to argue and persuade. In Give Them an Argument, Ben Burgis arms his reader with the essential knowledge of formal logic and informal fallacies. And a little quote on it from Nathan Robinson, editor of Current Affairs, which is a great leftist magazine. Ben Burgis understands that in order to persuade people to join a political movement, you have to master the techniques of rigorous argumentation. He masterfully exposes the cheap sophistry of right-wing philosophy, quote-unquote, and shows why there's still a place for logic and reason in political discourse. This is a crucial handbook for those who want to crush, quote-unquote, and destroy, quote-unquote, the Ben Shapiros of the world. Speaking of Ben Shapiro, that came up organically. I didn't realize there was going to be a little connection there. But yeah, it is a fantastic book. Like I said, it's very short, and let's see, I'm looking at the exact amount of pages. It's 111 pages long. It's fantastic. I have read it twice already, and I'm getting very, very familiar with the first chapter for reasons that I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal just yet. But it's not just a great tool for arming yourself if you're a leftist for, argumentation. It's also a great way if you maybe feel like you're kind of temperamentally on the left, if you've always kind of felt like that you were a leftist or socialism and communism kind of like made sense to you, just even if you just know kind of surface level just a little bit about it. It's a great book that kind of like breaks down a lot of the just common arguments that you hear. It serves as a really good brief introduction to leftist ideas, as well as a like argumentation guide and critical thinking guide. Also very just well written. It's just a joy to read. It's like super breezy, and having heard Ben Burgis, he used to appear on the Michael Brooks Show a lot, and he appears on other stuff. The Surfs have had him on, and Zero Books, who published his book, I see him on there, and he has his own YouTube channel, and he is just I met him via Zoom and talked to him for a very long time, and he is just a great dude, and he was just a pleasure to talk to. Very entertaining, but also real smart, and will drop some knowledge, unlike I myself can do that. Yeah, fantastic book. That is Give Them an Argument, Logic for the Left. You can get it on Amazon and a bunch of other places. So I think one great thing about Give Them an Argument and the leftists, I really like their approach, is that, like I was talking about earlier, they illustrate that the left is actually an appealing place to be. And I think culture does a pretty good job of that already, so much art. And this is a completely different topic, but I'm writing a script right now for a new YouTube video where I'm going to talk about like why conservatives are so not just bad at comedy, which I've seen a couple new why conservatives are bad at comedy videos come out recently from like Thought Slime and somebody else. Sorry, I'm forgetting you. But why just like everything that conservatives make is ugly as shit for the most part. I think there are I've got some interesting hypotheses that I would like to, I don't know if hypotheses is actually, that's the right plural. That might be one of those false Greekisms. Anyway, so one of the main things I want to do with the show and just life in general is introduce people to leftist ideas and show them that, these ideas are all about making life better for everyone in society. Except, of course, for the billionaires who I think can afford to be taken down a peg or two and not suffer that much from it. So as for that book, Give Them an Argument, Logic for the Left, that I'm recommending this week, I'm going to include an excerpt from Chapter 1 of that on an upcoming episode, read by me for reasons that will hopefully become clear in the near future. Speaking of give them an argument, Monsieur Burgis has just started a new podcast called Give Them an Argument, just like his book. So that should make the title of his book and his new podcast easy to remember. First episode is already dropped, in which Ben Burgis is joined by Majority Report and Michael Brooks' show super producer Matt Leck, whom I adore dearly. And he also has his own podcast that I love. He hosts it, and it is called Literary Hangover. Doc Burgess also had a historian on the show, Harvey J.K., whom I have seen illuminate and elucidate on many fascinating topics from the left on many great shows, Majority Report and Michael Brooks' show and other stuff on the YouTubes and the podcasts. And he's just great, leftist historian. Also, editor of the fantastic leftist magazine Jacobin, which Mr. Ben Burgis publishes articles in like almost weekly. That's Bhaskar Sunkara. I hope that pronunciation is acceptable. And also a Jacobin columnist, Liza Featherstone. It is a stacked show, so ready your brain for some laid-back, very fun to listen to knowledge drops. For music this week, I'm just going to recommend one song. Seattle Was a Riot by Anti-Flag. One of their best songs. It is a recounting of the WTO protests in Seattle in
1999.
Very timely for obvious reasons. As far as I know, it is not available on any music streaming sites or apps or services. The only way to hear it is on YouTube. There is a lyric video that you should check out, but like almost all lyric videos except for my Propagandhi one for Victory Lap that I put up recently, I tried to make it look really nice, but this lyric video has misspellings in it and typos, and it's like, just not the most aesthetically pleasing, but that doesn't really matter because, you want to, I love following along with the lyrics when I'm listening to a song, and so, whoever did that, you're doing God's work. Just put a little bit more care and effort into it next time you make a lyric video for an awesome band like Anti-Flag. So yeah, lyric video to that you should check out. That's Seattle Was a Riot by Anti-Flag. Like I say, very timely and just such a cool song. Even like some of the more emo hardcore kids I grew up with who did not like Anti-Flag or political punk or skate punk in general, the music that my friends and I were mostly into, they swore by, the only Anti-Flag song I like is Seattle Was a Riot. It's friggin' badass, yo. Also on YouTube, again, please check out, share, like, subscribe to my channel. 2 new videos up, lots of dumb music I've made with my own 2 hands, and tons of adorable footage of the cutest and best dog in the universe, my dog, Fancy LaRue. Another political YouTube thing I'm going to wreck here, and I'm going to go off a little bit. I'm going to go off Queen. The Surfs did a great commentary video on Lily Wachowski, talking about how The Matrix is a reflection of she and her sister's trans experience. Obviously ahead of its time, so that's pretty cool. I actually remember when I first heard about one of the Wachowskis coming out as trans, my buddy Stacy, whose voice you will hear in a moment. He's an enormous Matrix Wachowskis fan. He even likes the sequels, which I haven't seen but understand to be not as good and also hated by many, but I'll reserve judgment for now. Anyhow, I think we were in high school at the time when my buddy Stace, he told me that one of the Wachowskis was transgender. At the time, only one of them had come out, and like they had just recently come out, and I had a bit of a, whoa, that's odd reaction because it was pretty much a new concept to me. I'm sure I'd heard of transgender people before, but of course it was always portrayed in a mocking way or whatever. Yeah, I guess the very first time I heard of the concept of a trans person was in one of the Ace Ventura movies. I recently rewatched whichever one that was, and I was like blown away at just how transphobic and homophobic, I guess. I mean, the thought process of his character would be that he'd actually kissed a man, I guess. So, yeah, sorry if I'm talking about this like super clumsily, but it's complicated. Anyway, here's a snippet of a recent convo with Stacy in which I ask him for a recommendation for all of you sheetheads out there.
What's something that you would recommend that the people out there watch or listen to or something like that?
Rewatch the Matrix trilogy because the sequels are not dog shit. They're fucking cool and they mean a lot and they're meant to be something and we'll get another one eventually, and that's gonna be fucking cool as hell.
I agree.
Yeah, like
and
Matrix.
I have still never seen either of the sequels.
Dude,
I should do that.
They're awesome. I totally understand why people are like, they're all very complicated. They suck. With CGI, it's like, no, they thought about this. Like the first one, it's like, oh, the Matrix is so confusing. It's not. It's simple. But the sequels are confusing, and they're confusing for a reason, and I don't even understand everything that's about it, because the people who created it are so much smarter than me and thought so much about just so many levels of like philosophy and just all kinds of fantastic, wonderful shit that we all need to think about.
I was watching a video. I sent it to you. Did you get a chance to watch that? That was like about Lily Wachowski talking about how the Matrix movies are a metaphor for her. I guess she and her sister, they're like trans issues, and like.
I haven't seen it yet because my dad is shit. I'm going to watch it now because I am in my neighbor's shrub. But before you sent me that, something started trending on, I don't know, I got a message from YouTube or Google of Lily like talking about how Matrix is transgender. So that's probably a response to that, which is pretty interesting. Anything about the character Switch? Switch is a character in the Matrix. Real quick, she's a female in the Matrix and she's a female in the real world, but her name is Switch, and originally she was going to be male in, I can't remember the real world or the Matrix world, either way she's going to be male or female in one, and she was kind of androgynous looking, and her name was Switch. She was split by a female with kind of a male head. I don't know, this thing that the Wachowskis wanted to do, and the producers, or the Weinstein anyways, right? No, that'll confuse, we don't need to make her a male and a female. Keep her a female. So, but, yeah, that's some pretty transgender stuff, I think, and awesome.
And I think I remember, like, the first time I ever, I remember when I rewatched Ace Ventura, I like texted you and we talked about like how there's like, I didn't remember, there's like super fucking transphobic shit in that movie, which it was from like 1993 or whenever it's from. So like, not surprising, but like this crazy over the top. Well, I think one of the first times that one of the first times I ever really like thought about transgender people, like there was the Ace Ventura thing, which of course that was like a super fucked up, like bad, bigoted way to portray transgender people. But then then I remember you told me, I think we were hanging out at your house after school one day, and you told me that Lily, or one of the Wachowskis, I don't know which one came out as transgender first, but that because they were the Wachowski brothers before, but you said like now they're called the siblings, because the Wachowski siblings, because one of them is like decided to transition to being a female. And like I remember, of course, like if that's kind of a new concept to you or whatever, like it's kind of like, whoa, that's like seems like extreme, like that's basically.
Did I react well, or did I react shitty when I was telling you? Like,
I don't think we either of us really reacted shitty. I think we were both kind of like, whoa, that's like extreme, basically it was. But I mean, also you and I both, I think we've always had the attitude that like, I mean, if whatever anybody wants to do is, if it's not hurting anybody, even if it's something I don't understand or whatever.
Okay, if you're not hurting anybody, okay, do what you want. If
it makes you, especially like if it makes you happy, like. It's like,
yeah.
And that's where my phone died. We were just having a normal extemporaneous conversation, so it was kind of all over the place, and I had to stitch it together to keep it roughly about the same topic. But there's a little window into the clumsy way that cis hetero white dudes who have always tried to be woke but screw it up sometimes talk about the issues we don't understand all that well. But I think most people just want to know that we're trying, listening, improving, and above all else, just respecting everyone as equals. Hello, my friends. It is 3:13, the witching hour. And I'm punching in here because I had the podcast completely finished. I was going to post it. It was an SEO thing. It doesn't matter. But, I was staying up late to post it at like 2, 3 a.m. But then I was putting the final touches on some stuff and realized that it was missing something. So I wrote this. When Stacy first told me about the Wachowskis being trans, I had to wrap my head around it because it was a pretty new thing to me. I'd always tried to be as accepting as possible, and I'd be lying if I'd said the idea didn't make me a little bit uncomfortable when I was younger, but obviously my slight discomfort at having to accept an unfamiliar way of being doesn't matter at all when it's placed up against someone else's ability to be happy and comfortable in their own skin, whatever that may mean. People who fixate and obsess over lifestyles or life choices or sexual preferences or whatever they don't understand, who try to put people down for having different experiences and preferences, it just seems miserable for the people like, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, who talk about this stuff all the time. And in general, I try to live by a do no harm motto. If I can do good, even better. I don't know. The way I've always seen it is there's so much suffering in the world, so much death and pain and destruction, so much hate, so much tragedy. Why would anyone want to add to that in any way? And if someone has found a way to be happy on this miserable, brutal planet in this oppressive, ruthless society, no matter how weird you think it is, how can you possibly begrudge someone for finding happiness? You know who I think is the biggest voting bloc in the U.S.? Working people with the following philosophy. Do what you want as long as you're not hurting anybody. It's none of my business. And I expect the same treatment from you. Politics oversimplifies and overcomplicates this seemingly common sense position. Our entire system has been infiltrated by a third party that should be unwelcome in a government for and by the people, and it's eating us alive. What I mean is that we've allowed the interests of capital to take precedence over the needs and experiences of actual human beings when it shouldn't even be in the mix to begin with. We're Americans. We want to be free, but we're not. And neither party is really working toward liberation. The Democrats happen to be better at managing our corrupt, rotten system, so vote for Joe Biden and all that. But the point I'm making is that I know there are so many people out there who consider themselves apolitical. Maybe they don't really know any gay people or trans people. Maybe they don't realize how intrusive and pervasive white supremacy is in this country. Whatever. We have to give people space to learn, and we need to continue fine-tuning how we communicate our ideas. But you folks on the right, please just live and let live. Stop pushing against people who want to live differently, and come on over to the economic left. We shouldn't let this culture war shit divide us. We don't have to like or adopt each other's lifestyles. We just need to respect each other's right to make our own way in this world. Our economic interests align. We have the resources and technology to raise the floor of society for everyone. And we can do it peacefully. Now. How? I promise I will explain how to alleviate every single problem on the planet in an upcoming episode of Breadsheet. That's a recommendation. Is there anything else I want to recommend? You know what? Beep beep. You know what? I'll save it. And so my recommendations were Surf's video about Lily Wachowski, and the Surf's channel in general. That's a great YouTube channel. Also been watching Hassan Piker. That's a side note, but yeah, his stuff. He's a streamer, and like I said, last episode I talked about how I don't like those like low effort streaming. They're like gaming streamer type videos. People just like pause and comment on stuff. That's like one of the main things that the Surfs does these days, and I love, or I guess the Surfs do these days, but the channel itself is called the Surfs, so it's a single unit. That's one of the main things that they do, and I love them because they just do it in a very funny way, and they're very good at it. And this dude, Hassan Piker, is hilarious, and there's a great clip. Okay, I'm going to recommend one more thing, YouTube clip. It's Hassan Piker reacting to that interview with Donald Trump, where with Swan, I think is the Australian journalist interviewing him. That's insane interview that even if you do not give a shit about politics, you should watch this because it is like the craziest thing ever. And the Hassan Piker's video where he's doing commentary on it is great. And his just incredulousness at it is so hilarious. And so, yeah. Highly recommend that as well. So that was The Surfs about Lily Wachowski. Hassan Piker video is called Trump Literally Has a Baby Brain. I think that's actually verbatim, the title. Of course, yeah. A podcast and book. Ben Burgis, Give Them an Argument. Both the podcast and the book are fantastic. You'll learn stuff. You'll laugh. You'll cry. You'll have a great time. Check those things out. And please, next week, come check out my interview with Ben Burgis. I'm going to probably put that up in 2 parts. Anyway, that's it for this week's chaotic edition of Haas Recommends. All right, this next bit is for all you Joe Rogan haters out there, and don't get me wrong, I have my issues. My guest, Ben Burgis, and we do get into talking about our feelings on Rogan and people like him in the interview I'm going to be dropping very, very soon. And I mean, this is for Joe Rogan lovers and haters, I think, who maybe listen to the show. I think this might be an angle on the conversation that some of you may have not heard before, that I get into with Ben Burgis next week. But a guy I went to high school with posted something on Facebook about black people having a quote-unquote victim mentality, and I guess he was saying that's the reason that on paper, and thus I would say in practice, the United States is a de facto white supremacist apartheid state. But I posted in response a Joe Rogan video, a clip from his podcast, in which he very simply pushes back against Ben Shapiro making this pretty much same argument about the victim mentality or whatever, and I would say pretty well trounces that argument in a pretty short clip. So that is one way that Joe Rogan is pretty useful, and I might add that I went to see what his response was to that clip, and he had deleted the comment. So I don't know if that means he saw the clip and gave second thought to how racist that is to say that black people have a victim mentality, and that's the reason that we, like I said, on paper and in practice, the United States is a de facto white supremacist apartheid state. I mean, the Bureau of Justice statistics report that 35% of state prisoners are white, 38% are black, and 21% are Hispanic. In 12 states, more than half of the prison population is African American. And that is in the U.S., 62% of the population is white, 13% of the population is black, and 17% is Hispanic. There are lots of numbers that you can look up on this, but it is very obviously lopsided. Black people are way overrepresented, and Hispanic people to a lesser degree, but still overrepresented in the prison system. So I don't really know how you look at that and come to any conclusion other than that we are living in a de facto white supremacist apartheid state. So here's my thing about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has played no small role in our out-of-control prison problem, and Joe Biden was one of the main architects of it in the 90s. And that doesn't mean we should want them to lose to Trump in November. We definitely should not, as Trump and the Republicans will just make the problem worse. And I think that we would actually have Kamala and Joe's ear on this problem. We might actually have a chance to at least improve it, even though they are responsible for exacerbating it to a great degree. But we should stay aware of this fact and continue to put pressure on the Democrats from the left to dismantle this oppressive, evil, racist system. I don't see how anyone can look at the breakdown and come away with any conclusion other than that the U.S. is a de facto white supremacist apartheid state. If you're not outraged about that, It's been this way for a long, long time, and we need to change the Democratic Party to be one that is unequivocally against that, as well as many other beyond-the-pale views currently accepted in the supposedly left party. We'll get into more detail on that later. I definitely want to really get down and dirty with some of that. That book I have recommended before, Misdemeanorland, goes into a lot of different data about this that shows how this is a race issue from all kinds of different angles. So here's my issue with Kamala and the way that she was announced and chosen as VP. And this is basically, I'm just going to read you my Twitter thread. Quote unquote, "We're going to pick a black woman no matter what" is precisely the type of tokenism right-wing ding-dongs strawman the left over. A politician's identity only matters insofar as it informs their perspective and ultimately their policy positions. It's condescending as F and really unfair to her. She's not the worst choice. She is a formidable politician, and I, for one, would feel much safer with her in charge, as I said before, than most of the other folks Biden was considering. But her record as a prosecutor sucks, and are we really running a cop in 2020? I'm all about representation and diversity, and I even think that deciding to choose a black woman for VP no matter what isn't necessarily tokenism if handled in the correct and an honest way. That's kind of a separate topic, but basically my argument is that of the 350 million, roughly, people in the U.S., there are people of every conceivable background or identity who would make equally decent VP picks or president picks. Deciding to choose from among an underrepresented group doesn't mean necessarily compromising the quality of the candidate. Right-wingers are almost by definition incapable of comprehending that level of nuance, so they're going to use Biden's proclamation that he was going to pick a black woman no matter what to bludgeon Senator Harris, possibly to great effect. That said, I think she's more than capable of cutting through those attacks from the right, and it's just unfair to put her in that position. And that pretty much does it for this edition of Breadsheet. This has been a Minisode. I love you all. I'm going to talk about some cool stuff coming up. Please follow me on Twitter and or Instagram at Haas_Bossman. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and see what I've got there. 2 new videos, like I said before. This newest one is about Quibi. Leave a 5-star review for this podcast, please. I believe that's best done on Apple Podcasts, but do it wherever you get your podcasts. Come on, I am a nice guy, okay? Or at least I try to be a nice guy. So even if you hate this podcast, like I always say, you can still rate it 5 stars and still just help me out, because all I want to do is get you healthcare. I just want life to be better for every living human on Earth. I'm going to write out on another one of my songs. Like, I'm going to kind of keep doing that. I might take a break from doing that, but I'm going to give you like a brand new one that I wrote this one a while back, but recorded kind of an electro beats version of it that I don't know if it's good or not. I am an analog musician from head to toe. Even though I've been doing the music for this and, some other stuff in electronic instruments or digital, like software instruments. This one I did with like all software stuff and leaned into the kind of electronic sound. Tell me what you think of this. This is probably we're going to release this as our little side project, Max and I. My buddy Max, love you, buddy. You out there? Mwah. We're going to start our thing, technically music, at some point. Ooh, and Max and I are in the process of prepping for another podcast that is going to be fantastic. So get stoked for that. This one might get more listeners in because it's actually about something specific and not just how to fix society, which is an admittedly broad topic. So yeah, here's another one of my songs. This one is a newer one I made with some electro beats called Virgin Version of Me. It is unfinished. We have not added Max's guitar parts and harmonies to it or done a final master or anything like that, but stick around for it. Everybody have a wonderful day, and may the quantum fabric of space-time forever be tilted in your favor. And make sure you fill another sentient being's soul with light energy that heals their bones today. Mwah. Love you. Bye-bye.
I don't see myself somewhere tonight. No, it don't look like rain. It just feels like there might be a storm brewing slowly. So I'll keep my lowly ass here. Oh, there's not much to see just outside my window. For I was landlocked, it was comfort to know when the world got too cold, I could watch the waves roll and move on. done so much now that I'd wanted to do. Moved around, even moved a listener or two. But of course something's missing, so I keep on wishing away. Now wondering where to go from this point. I have to work hard to remember the boy who really believed in the promise that evening could bring. But it's been a long, long time since I've opened hopeful eyes. A question for you, virgin version of me. Just how did you feel so alive? Each day and night's washing over you like it could never have happened at all. What do you get out of this untold amount of wishfully thinking you'll feel something, however small? And it's been a long, long time since I felt that undivided